Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Foreign Takes. Who's here with me on the line?
It's KG, the satisfied Man United fan, and I think we're missing one particular Arsenal fan.
Yeah, he's out there trying to give a little kiss to Bakayoko Saka because he was so happy with him returning. But we'll have to do this one without him.
Yeah, I think he's learning how to swim.
So, what are we talking to today? There's been a quite interesting game day in Premier League. We saw some exciting action in the Clasico, and Rodri won the Ballon d'Or. But I guess let's start with the game of the weekend, Arsenal versus Liverpool. What was your take on the game?
I think Arsenal escaped with that result. That's my genuine opinion. I let YT know that he was lucky, which, just to preface it, our resident Arsenal fan said that this was a good result, which I
Mm-hmm.
disagree with him. I think Arsenal too defensive. Arteta is just annoying. Like I can, as a United fan, I should not like Liverpool more than Arsenal, but I just don't like Arsenal at all. I would
Mm-hmm.
rather Liverpool compete with City. That's my takeaway from the
See,
game.
that's interesting you say Arsenal escaped. My take would be a little different. I think they threw away necessary
Yeah,
points because for Liverpool perspective, as a Liverpool fan, this was a good hard fought point away from home when we didn't play particularly well. I thought the Liverpool got overrun in the midfield a little bit, and until Klopp was brought Soboslai on, it was hard
slot.
to. So slot, yeah, it was hard to keep the ball at least a little bit. But if
Yeah,
you're Arsenal fan, I think you should be disappointed with the result because you had a lot of possession starting, the middle 30, 40 minutes of the game. A lot of attacking, Declan Rice delivering some very teasing crosses in there, and basically you weren't able to get it done. And when the Premier League race is as tight as it's been in the last few years, you kind of have to win those tough home games against
I agree.
rivals.
I agree. I think they definitely have to win it. If it was outside of the run that they had, it would have been a decent result. I
Mm-hmm.
think that in compilation of everything that they've been through, they could have won the game. And that's why I said they were lucky to escape. I think the first half, I didn't catch the first half in full, so I don't know how Arsenal played in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be in understanding that if it's 2-1, Arsenal will probably dominating the midfield and the position. Liverpool looked a bit shaky. But speaking from the second half, they could have won the game. They should have done what they did against City, which was sit back and defend, and they didn't do that. I think they
Mm-hmm.
gave the ball to Liverpool. Liverpool made the necessary changes, as you mentioned, and Arsenal were lucky that they only conceded one. I think the second goal that they conceded was too easy. I don't think it was under any pressure. Yeah, Liverpool had more balls, but it wasn't building. It was just they cut them through like butter through knife. That if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't know.
Darwize with the cold blood,
Yeah,
I fully expected him to just make a wrong decision there, and then
yeah,
he did a very cold-headed, calculated decision. But I think what makes this result a little more tougher pill to swallow for Arsenal is the fact that they also lost three players to injuries. Gabriel was
yeah,
forced off. Um, and I'm not sure what his deal is, but it seems like they're running out of defenders now, and a couple other players were had to be substituted. So if you don't take the points and you don't, your kind of fitness levels suffer, it's not the best weekend for you as an Arsenal. Uh,
yeah. It isn't. And then just again coming back to Arteta and him on the 75th minute, running down the pitch, not down the pitch, but down the sidelines when won the ball that was out. Martinelli was in the corner standing and protecting the ball as if it's the 90th minute or the
Mm-hmm.
75th minute, which was it doesn't speak of the mentality that Arsenal should go on and win games, regardless of the injuries. I think the injuries is an excuse. I don't. I've never seen City complain about the injuries post game. Before
Mm-hmm.
game, yes, I heard Pep complaining. Before games, I heard Klopp complaining. But after the game, it's very rarely that people talk about injuries unless they're under very severe pressure. And essentially, when they throw away games, they usually don't mention
Mm-hmm.
the injuries. But
Okay.
Arsenal fans find that excuse for them. So I don't know. I'm not. I'm not a big fan of this Arteta and Arsenal side. I think uh, they don't show that mentality to me.
Some people would say that you're a hater.
I may be a hater, but it's not of Arsenal. It's of Arteta and the way he plays. I don't think they play a particularly well fine-tuned attacking football. And if YT was here, he would have said, "Well, we don't have Odegaard." Last time he said they don't have Saka and Odegaard. Now they had Saka, and he's gonna say, "Well, we don't have Odegaard." I don't think one player should be that much of a difference in terms of going forward for a team. I think
Well,
they should have more on their bench
yeah.
if you're
Well,
going for a
let's
title.
let's switch gears a little bit to another game which for the table didn't really have a lot of impact, but had a lot of impact for your sanity specifically. United lost to West Ham with a pretty controversial penalty decision in stoppage time. What's your take there?
I don't know. I don't know what's the take because we know we now live in a post Ten Hag era
Yeah,
already. So on the bright side, there were some positives with the result. I don't think if they would have won, they would have sacked Ten Hag. I don't
yeah.
think they would have done it. They would have done probably closer to the international break when they would lose to Chelsea or not gain as much as points. And it seemed like that was coming. So it's a positive
But
on one side.
what is the point of at this level, at this stage, keeping Ten Hag? I think after the first 2 months of the season, it was pretty clear he was dead man walking.
Yes,
So if you can get, and we overlooked that Ruben Amorim is actually was available because he was the hot commodity before Liverpool appointed Slot. I think before him and Javi Alonso were considered, he was kind of the main runner, not only for
yeah,
Liverpool but I think for Chelsea as well. So isn't it better to get him in the door early?
yeah. I agree. I think they should have gotten them early, but they were swayed by the decision in C. I don't know what was the decision there. They decided to keep the hump. Probably the FA Cup win swayed their
Mm-hmm.
decision pretty big, but I'm not sure if that was the right call to make to sack him then. It doesn't make sense. The narrative doesn't make sense. So the first narrative was that Ten Hag didn't play under a structure that is with the current structure that they're building out and have.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to give him a chance. But then they don't give him a chance and they sack him once the result go back. I think at the end of the day they gambled on him and it didn't work out. And I wish him all the best. I really felt bad for him when he got sacked, not as a manager of United, but as a human being, I think, and as a manager overall. I think he is a good manager. There is a good manager in him. If he was a manager of West Ham, I think West Ham are pushing the top four, in my
Uh-huh.
opinion. But I don't think he was the man, or at least he failed to redefine what Man United is. So it's sad that it didn't work out, but it's for the best.
Okay, so what's are you excited about Ruben?
It's not confirmed yet. Once it's going to be confirmed, we'll see. I don't think any one of the United fans are fully excited with a new manager, especially once a new manager is coming in, not even mid-season, but one third in of the season. You don't know what to do. It's a squeaky moment in time. Like there's a lot of excuses. If he doesn't rebuild, you give him time, and the season can be wasted, and you essentially just go like he didn't have enough preseason or whatever. If he does too well, then the expectation for next seasons are too high. So it's a very slippery slope, and I think it's just better to wait out and see. He also plays a bit of a different style of football than Ten Hag does. He plays with
Mm-hmm.
three center backs, and we do have three starters, but they should not get injured. hopefully. And also he plays with wing backs, and we don't have a left wing back, so
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see what he does.
I actually think that's the reason why they brought him in now, because definitely plays more 3-5-2. It's a little bit of different style, and with the season already, I mean, I know it's early, but it's kind of been a loss. So I think they wrote off the season, and basically it's kind of his playground, sandbox for him to figure out what's the best setup, who he wants to keep, and then they'll invest in the summer, and hopefully next year I think the goal is to make top four. If he makes a top four this year, which I don't think is realistic anymore, then more power to him.
I
But
think top four is still realistic, but it will have to, United will have to completely change the results. Like they would have to.
he has to
You
be a
could,
club level signing then. Like he has to
yeah.
come in and just completely change the
I don't think the
energy in the
United,
club.
the squad that United has is
Mm-hmm.
that bad. They're not 14th. They're not seventh. I
Yeah.
think by the squad they're in and around the top four spot. The thing is that the motivation and whether they want to play. I think personally they stopped playing for Ten Hag, and all the briefs came out immediately. I don't know if you saw, but everyone and their mother who hated Ten Hag immediately released long withstanding and long withholding articles on how shitty Ten Hag was. Like they
Mm-hmm.
even went back to the Ronaldo story of how he was banished from the first team dressing room, wanted to get the boots, and they didn't let him in because it was for first team players only. So he had to ask a youth player to go pick up his boots, and that is coming out now because Ten Hag is gone. So that was somewhere saved on someone's computer drive, waiting for the day that Ten Hag is fired. So it all makes sense. So I think that the players gave up on him a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also difficult to judge any new manager that comes in when you know that the players can easily throw you under the bus. And that would
Yeah.
be good in the discussion of the game itself with versus West Ham, which I think they threw away, and they essentially didn't let Ten Hag live on for another 2 weeks because Dalot missed an open goal, Garnacho missed sitters, then Dalot failed to track back again on his right back position, which is something that United fans slate Wan-Bissaka for, that he always let his man run on the wing. It was just a game that they threw away, and it would have been a draw unless Michael Oliver and his genius views on football stepped in, which I don't think it was a penalty. I think everyone agrees, anyone who's sane agrees that that's not a penalty. But ultimately, we have what we have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you say top four is realistic. However, here's one team that I think probably has a lot bigger chance: Chelsea, which have been
Yep.
very good to watch lately. They recently won against Newcastle 2-1. Palmer with another amazing assist, or sorry, throw ball actually. So, what do you think? Are they? Is this like a flash in a pan, or are they for real?
We'll see. We'll
We'll
see. I
see.
don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Chelsea because Chelsea are it's a new project, and a lot of it, a lot of their mood, similar to United, was determined by the players in the team.
Mm-hmm.
So far they like the manager, but I think they have so much players, and they're such a long contract that if they decide they don't like the manager anymore, essentially one controversial decision, and it can go wrong for them pretty
Yep.
quick. And it's very useful for them that they're not under the spotlight anymore. I think everyone wrote them off and forgot about them. The only good thing about their performances is Cole Palmer, but they also have Sancho in the team, and they already started questions of him not being the starter in the past 2 games. The media is asking why are you not starting our dear boy Sancho.
Yep.
So with that in mind, I think they can definitely get top four, but if they get their shit together till the end of the season, and they're playing United next against Ruud van Nistelrooy very probably. So they probably will get that win at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting United to win.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Premier League, let's hit our news segment called Hero of the Week, Donkey of the Week. I can kick it off with my Donkey of the Week, which is once again for the record appearance of this segment, the FA and the referee union. basically we can't know what's what anymore. There's no consistency. I watched the West Ham penalty, and while I think there was some contact there, definitely it wasn't clear, and just another example of inconsistency. It was the
Mhm.
same at weirdly at the Liverpool Arsenal match when multiple times people kicked away the ball, including Liverpool players, and they weren't booked for it. So when is it bookable? When is it not? Why is there such a complete just confusion over the rules? So that's my donkey of the week. My hero of the week is actually um, Declan Rice. He
Mhm.
just, I thought his game was amazing. He completely took over and held the midfield for Arsenal, and it was really clear like how much a player like that matters.
Yeah.
Because Gravenberch has been amazing this season.
Hmm.
He was not. He was him and Jones and McAllister just were not able to deal with Declan Rice and Marino
Hmm.
in a little bit as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with the Declan Rice shout and the FA Cup. Oh, not the FA
Hmm.
Cup, the FA. The refereeing. I just want to be different with my donkeys of the week because it's obviously evidence that the the FA and the referees are donkeys of the week, specifically Michael Oliver.
Hmm.
But for my donkey of the week, I'm gonna give it to Dalot, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Um, didn't track back, didn't score an empty net, did everything perfect. It's like it's a very unfortunate donkey of the week because he did 80% of everything right, and then the last 20% he shot so bad that the 80% got deleted and it went into the negative numbers. That's just how bad it was. Didn't track back, and it happened multiple times this season. If you remember, he did it versus Tottenham as well,
Yeah,
and
I
he
feel
just
that's been the theme of the season for him.
yeah. Just, oh, sorry, I didn't try. Like, I can do that when I'm playing pickup. I didn't run up
Yeah.
because tired and I'm old, but you can't do it when you're like 20 something and you're in the Premier League. There are
Hmm.
arguments that he's tired from playing all the games, but either way, like if you're tired, take a rest. Don't
Hmm.
start. That's my donkey of the week. And my hero of the week is going to be a bit different from all of the noise and all the spotlight. It's going to be a Benicio Eze. I think he bossed Tottenham, got Crystal Palace the first win, although he didn't score, but he did provide an assist, or at least a flick on that resulted in a goal. So I think he's the only star left out of that core Crystal Palace team. It's good to see that he's still with the team, and I hope he stays on. Uh, Crystal Palace, Wolverhampton, even Southampton kept their managers before United did. So Ten
Hmm.
Hag was the first one to was gone before November. So good to see. Good to see.
Yeah. In moving away from Premier League, we had an exciting El Clasico this week, where Barcelona completely wiped the floor with Real Madrid. Did you expect that? I feel like
I,
that was a huge change from last year.
it's a huge change from last year. I didn't expect them to wipe the floor with Madrid.
Hmm.
If they would win, I would not be surprised. I'll say that. But just to preface that, they did smash Bayern too
Yep.
midweek. But with Bayern, it's excusable because it's company, and now it seems more and more that company's going to be focusing on the Bundesliga, not the not the Champions League as much. And he is learning on the job a bit. But Hansi Flick, it's like those memes. He's the only one to inflict
Hmm.
revenge upon himself. Because he was the one who beat them 8-2 or whatever the score was. But so I expected them to at least challenge, but to have it 4-0 and to have Mbappe miss sitters and Barcelona defense toying with him, making him go offside,
He
not
was
bad.
offside, I think, 7 or 8 times, which is just and his stats aren't like that bad, but we discussed this last season on foreign takes. Just the amount he has to do to justify all the drama of moving to Real
Yeah,
Madrid is probably unachievable. So he's really struggling, and people are calling him a flop already, even though he did score like 6 or 7 goals in 10 games. But because it just the bar is so high now for him, and the Real, which has been winning Champions Leagues like no big deal without him, then how do you
yeah.
justify you being there?
And on top of that, they also have Vinicius Jr., who's a crybaby in his own mind,
Yeah.
but they play in a similar position. So the way Ancelotti tries to solve it is he tries to play with two strikers up top, so letting them free flow, which is not necessarily what Mbappe would like to do. He's more of a boss in his own right mind. He would play with little kids, then he played with Messi and Neymar, but each had their own zone going forward. Mbappe was the left-sided striker, and then when he played with kids, he was basically allowed to free roam everywhere across the front line. But now Madrid he has Vinicius and sometimes Rodrigo. So even if sometimes they have two or three people in that one spot, so it's very difficult for him to find himself in the team. And I don't blame him, and he's not that bad. But just the Real Madrid fans are very impatient and they're very
Mm-hmm.
annoying, undeserving of anyone, let alone Mbappe, in my opinion.
Yep.
But this game definitely stung, and I think there's a big chance that Barcelona is going to be champions and Real Madrid are going to be second, just because of the fans and the pressure and the inability to infiltrate Mbappe in the team. I also saw
Yep.
some fans. I don't know if you saw that they hated on Ancelotti already, and he had to find excuses,
I mean, that's
which is
classic
just
Real, right? They would boo their own legend like Raul because
yeah,
they don't want to. They're just so accustomed to winning. Um,
yeah,
on one hand, I fully expect Real to get better and be
yeah,
dangerous maybe the second half of the season. But it could be one of those situations, when they bought a bunch of Galacticos and at some point you have too many players who don't mesh together.
yeah.
Adding Mbappe might have been that kind of extra catalyst that you didn't need, where you take
I
your
agree.
amazing dish and you add one ingredient too many. Now
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just unbalanced.
Yeah, and I think that this season in particular, because Barcelona are going to be hitting the stride, it's a lot of like it's the result of the league is going to hinge on one or two games versus
Mm-hmm.
Atletico Madrid versus Sociedad, maybe, and Barcelona. Obviously, those are the two, three that can challenge them. And I think Real already dropped points to Atletico Madrid. I don't see Barcelona losing any games. I see them eventually lose out to someone in the Champions League, but I don't see them losing out to anyone in the league. And now that they beat Madrid, Madrid is gonna fall short. I just think of that, and I agree that
Mm-hmm.
maybe adding too many stars is gonna be too much. But what do you think about Vinicius Junior and his tantrum that he threw? That the whole Real Madrid team did not go to the Ballon d'Or nominations and presentations.
Honestly, I found this the whole insinuation that he deserved it or Rodri kind of weird. Rodri has had an amazing season. The season before, he won a treble. This season, he won the Premier League and then the European Championships. And he's been probably the most indispensable part of the Spanish team and City. He's the one that you most want not to play against you.
Yep.
So I don't know why people thought Vinicius deserved it above him. Vinicius, yeah, great player, but he had a slow first half of the season and then kind of picked it up. It wasn't anything super crazy. While I think people get lost into giving Ballon d'Ors only to players who score goals. And
Yeah,
they don't understand how important Rodri is to the teams he plays for.
I agree. I think I don't think a lot of people or most of the footballing world
Hmm.
agreed with Madrid. I think at the beginning people are like Ballon d'Or won Rodri, and it was just an opinion of Madrid fans and Madrid adjacent fans, plus
Yeah.
Brazilians that were like, "Oh, it's a robbery that Vini didn't get the result." And I thought, well, yeah, it's your opinion. I think Rodri deserved it because of the European Championship. I get it, you won the Champions League, but Real Madrid wins Champions League every year, and now we're in an era when finally Real Madrid and Ronaldo and Messi have died down, so you can actually roll back the years and give it to actual players that are crucial.
Hmm.
But then when they decided not to attend and made it all thing about them being like none of the players, like Arda Güler finished second, someone else won some sort of trophy. They won the best European team. They weren't there, like the whole team wasn't there to get an award because of
Hmm.
Vinicius Junior. I thought it was a bit too selfish and stuck up. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for them. But on the other hand, because there's not a lot of City fans, realistically, everyone, I think I might be wrong, but most of the City fans are in new areas of expansion, such as young kids and like the United States. There's a lot of City fans,
Yep.
which doesn't feel like they understand what the Ballon d'Or is or care. I think usually people pretty much cared whoever wins it. When Modric was winning it, I was happy for him and for the season that he had. I don't think it's still devoid of me magnitude of Rodri winning Ballon d'Or. I think it's great. I think he deserves it as an individual, but the
Yep.
context out of which he was getting it doesn't inspire me. Falling in love with football.
Yeah,
That's what.
I think just Ballon d'Or kind of lost its luster when we had that 10 to 15-year period of just Messi and Ronaldo winning it. And not that they didn't deserve it, it just made it like, oh, whoever's going to score the most goals in a given year are going to win it.
Yeah,
Especially after Snyder got snubbed after winning a
yeah.
treble and guiding Netherlands to the World Cup final. Because it used to be very rarely would you have repeats. And every year it would be like an amazing player like Shevchenko, Nedved, Ronaldinho, Kaká, and then it
Owen.
just became like a two-man show.
Yeah.
So it was just an inspiring thing to watch who will get it and who was at that moment like playing the best. And it went from that into like, well, these two are obviously the best players, so we're just gonna keep giving it to them.
Yeah, and it's fair. It's fair to say that
Yeah,
they're two best of all times, but now they're
yeah,
rolling back those years. And I think when Benzema got it, but even recently when Benzema got it and Modric got it, you still were happy for them because they
yeah.
deserved it, especially from that area. I think the only last time that people were pissed was Lewandowski when he didn't get it, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
see Bayern not attending or skipping it because
Yeah,
they didn't host it and then he didn't get it for next. So it's just after that, the stories were inspiring. But I think with Rodri, yeah, I'm inspired by his the Euro win, and he did amazing for City. But I think in general, his context and the beauty of his play is missed because of who he plays for. But yeah,
yep,
and overall, the story of the tournament.
yep.
Moving on, are we going to be covering our next week's predictions, or what are
Well,
we doing?
I feel let's cover it, but I haven't had a single winning bet this entire season, so I feel it's just like my delirium now. But basically, what I have right now is Liverpool winning against Brighton,
Okay,
City winning against Bournemouth, Aston Villa Tottenham, Aston Villa winning away, and a tie between Newcastle and Arsenal, which is a little spicy. And that will net me a total of $460 on a $15 bet.
that is an amazing prediction for your money. I think the spiciness of Arsenal versus Liverpool is a bit too much, but let's see. Let's see what we're gonna have. I'm gonna go with. I'm also gonna be spicing it up, and I'm not gonna be being safe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with Liverpool versus Brighton on the weekend, over 2.5 goals. I'm going with Southampton versus Everton. Both teams will score. I'm going with Tottenham versus Aston Villa. That's going to be more than 2.5 goals. And I'm going for Man United to beat Chelsea just as a new manager, change of scenery, bounce. I think with Amorim, they're going to be trying to impress. And that will net me $131 from 15.
Okay. Wow, I'm excited to see if that new manager bounce will actually happen. But you probably won't have a Ruben by then. It's gonna be rude.
It's
You
going to be
might
a
be
route
in for a
probably.
rude awakening.
Yeah, I might be in for a rude awakening, but also he may be like finalizing his deal in the stands, so
Yeah,
the player might think, "Oh, I need to impress my new coach."
fair
Employment
enough.
and
Fair
stuff.
enough.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is it for us for this episode of Foreign Takes. Next time we will return in a full complexion, and let's see what our resident Arsenal fan will have to say for himself.
All right. Peace.
Peace.